Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pitts. Ukraine War News Update, second part thereof this 17th of November 2024. And hopefully the audio will be okay on this one. I won't bore you with the details, but that's what happens when you update your laptop and it restarts in mute. And then you don't realise there's stuff playing in the background that your computer records. Anyway, apologies for that. We're going to start with Latvia allocating 0.25% of its GDP to help Ukraine. I think was it the Estonian report that came out and said, look, if all countries did that, Ukraine would be in absolutely no problem at all. You'd be able to wrap up this war with allies donating 0.25% of GDP to Ukraine. It'd just be huge aid provision and assistance to the beleaguered country. The country's president, Edgar Rinkovits, has said that 0.25% GDP to help Ukraine is going to be given. He added that Latvia has already included this in its budget for 2025 and 2026. A really strong support from the Baltics, from the Nordic nations. The government of Estonia supported a proposal of Defence Minister Hanno Pevkur to send a new package of military aid to Ukraine. The package will include naval uniforms, surveillance devices, sites, ballistic protection and various types of ammunition. French aid to Ukraine reports that France has allocated more than 434 million euros in humanitarian aid to Ukraine, which has enabled it to finance direct aid to Ukrainians, as well as projects implemented by international organisations, UN agencies and NGOs in many sectors. So that's good news from France. We have the German party, the Free Democratic Party, that was in coalition with the SDP and the Greens. The finance minister, Lindner, came from that party before he was fired. Well, he still does come from that party, but that's caused the breakup of the coalition that has brought about a vote of confidence in December that will bring about an election, no doubt, in February. So anyway, the FDP in Germany may put the issue of supplying Ukraine with Taurus missiles to a vote in the Bundestag in the German parliament. FDP leader Christian Dürr sees potential support from the CDU, CSU and Greens, despite Chancellor Scholz's resistance. So this has happened before, but it was seen as far too partisan. And so the vote actually went in the government's favour. But I think it's got to a point now where they might not get that support in the Bundestag, the SDP. So you could get an overwhelming vote for Germany to support Ukraine with Taurus missiles. First new images of the Dutch donated detailed 155mm self-propelled gun in service with the Ukrainian National Guard. These were published by the head of the Ukrainian National Guard. I think these Czech built self-propelled guns. I can't quite remember, but anyway, the Dutch have supplied some to Ukraine. Zelensky's spoken on Ukrainian radio, mentioning 4 types of missiles being tested. He highlighted that Ukraine is one of the strongest and most advanced armies globally, with impressive external funding and internal budget for developing new technologies. This was an interesting one, and you should probably do more of it, where it was more like a podcast, sitting down and chatting and allowing people to discuss things at a greater leisure with him. Here he's talking about things. In fact, let's pop into what he says here. We'll go through this. I'll read through the subtitles. So, technological changes that have happened in Ukraine, he says, of various levels in private and state sectors, led to us being the strongest technologically in Europe for sure. Thanks to our modern methods, which are based on the modern long war. This applies to drones, electronic warfare systems, long-range drones, and though with countering Shaheeds, we haven't reached good results yet, but we have them still. The missile program, I'd disagree. Well, if you can believe the Ukrainian General Staff, then actually the interception and electronic warfare interference rates on the Shaheeds are absolutely amazing compared to what they were. The missile program, he said, the missiles that we now have, we have 4 types and tests are happening. Now, next, naval drones, which move from testing to use, and we destroyed a large number of vessels in the Black Sea Fleet. So nothing particularly that we don't know. War Translator says it's also worth noting that a good format of the interview. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so Moving on, well, actually not quite moving on that exact same topic, and I shared this with you this morning, that Ukraine can now produce 10 to 15 domestically produced long-range missiles per month. That is not nearly enough compared to what they need to, is my argument. The Russians are firing, 300 missiles a month, even when they're not doing these massive waves like we saw last night, and that is the kind of levels that Ukraine needs to be achieving. So 10 to 15 is not good enough, but that is definitely better than where they were, obviously. These would be the Neptune and the Palantir sort of drone missiles. Soon Russia is going to get a taste of their own medicine. Yep, but it's all about scaling up. Now, interesting development of a drone here. This is a counter-drone drone. These are Russian developers experimenting with a flamethrower drone to go after other drones that you can see below, just firing down that flame on a drone below. We've seen the Russians develop a number of different ones, such as net release ones where they're ahead of the Ukrainians for that. That's actually slightly in the wrong position. That should have been with my Russian stuff. Do apologise. So UK defence artillery barrels. This is Daniela talking here, and we spoke about this the other day on my live stream. We'll just go through his thread to discuss, have a look at what's going on in the UK with regard to barrel production. After the UK sent AS-90s, these are the self-propelled howitzers you can see on the screen there. We're basically sending all of ours. They are becoming obsolete, so we're phasing them out, essentially sending them all to Ukraine. After the UK sent AS-90s and L118, so the towed howitzers to Ukraine, a request was made by the UK Minister of Defence on the 10th of April 2024 to support the donated artillery systems to Ukraine. BAE Systems was asked to restart production of barrels. After this announcement, all went quiet, but something was happening behind the scenes. In fact, during the summer, the MOD announced plans that Sheffield Forgemasters was to support the manufacturing of gun barrels in the UK, ensuring sustained support for Ukraine. A long silence followed this initial communication, which was interrupted a week ago with the announcement that the UK government and the MOD agreed to strengthen UK's ability to produce forging blanks for barrels with British steel. So obviously this is going to support UK industry as well. Choosing Sheffield Forgemasters to produce British steel is both strategic and vital given the UK's struggling steel industry, which worsened with closures like Port Talbot's blast furnace. That's in the south of Wales. Strengthening domestic supply chains is key to a resilient defence sector. Today, the statement of BAE Systems comes as an important achievement. A few images of a large industrial warehouse located in Sheffield with the first sign of groundwork for what looks like the base ground for a dual manipulators radial forging machine, and there are other in fact here is the other one, so it looks like they're working on that. Among the M777, AS-90 and L118 light gun barrels, the site will also be utilised to restart barrel production for the UK Army, which has been interrupted for over 10 years. This in the moment of increased tension in Europe, where the UK is called to act. So that's really good news coming there from within the UK defence domain. Now, Russia, moving on to Russian bits and pieces, they are producing Thermobaric drones. We just saw that flamethrower drone. Thermobaric drones as well, capable of causing simply terrifying damage to civilians, according to Associated Press. Russia recently began producing Thermobaric drones to be used alongside decoy drones in Ukraine, which are capable of causing severe damage to civilians. An investigation by the Associated Press revealed on November the 16th, thermobaric warheads create a wave of high pressure and heat that is capable of penetrating thick walls. The damage caused by thermobaric attack drones would cause damage that would be simply terrifying for civilian populations to endure, including collapsed lungs, crushed eyeballs, and brain damage, according to the source familiar with the Russian drone production. That's not just civilians, of course, that's armed personnel as well. And to make matters worse, Pyongyang has supplied Moscow's army with long-range rocket and artillery systems, as I reported this morning, some of which have been moved to Russia's Kursk region for an assault involving North Korean soldiers to push out the Ukrainian forces there, according to Ukrainian intelligence. Indeed, the claims are that they have provided 50 domestically produced self-propelled howitzers, the Koksan M1989, and also 20 multiple launch rocket systems as well, and that is a claim from the Financial Times from yesterday, citing in Ukrainian intelligence. So slightly worrying times there, very worrying times for the Ukrainians. China has a factory that produces drones solely for the Russian war of aggression in Ukraine. That's according to Politico. The EU wonders if the Chinese government is aware of that. Is China a free country? No, so it is a conscious decision. What are we doing about that, about the Chinese support for Ukraine? Is certainly a major worry. Anyway, that's enough from me for today for military aid on this Sunday the 17th. Really appreciate your support. Sorry about the previous video. And it should all be up and running fairly shortly with an audio that has taken out the music, but I haven't had time to re-record it. So it won't be perfect audio, but it'll certainly be better than it was. Thanks so much. Take care. Speak soon.